Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Arc Rewind. We're a podcast that talks about architecture news and topics, but from a student's perspective. My name is Stanley.
Hi, I'm Julia.
And today we're joined with Heather Akers.
Yay! Another guest episode. All right, guys. So Heather, she's currently the AIA Fort Lauderdale president. She also has her own practice, OHA, so Office of Heather Akers, where she brings practical and design-driven perspectives to both her professional work and her leadership, with a focus on intentional spaces and meaningful design processes. So Heather is deeply passionate about elevating architecture profession and supporting the next generation, so us. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So you love advocacy, mentorship, and leadership. So we appreciate that. Like, we need more of that. But people like that in our field.
Yeah, well, I really love the practice, and I want everyone to do well and thrive in this space, and we need more leaders that can kind of pave the way for the next generation of architects.
Yeah, no, that's true. And how are you feeling today?
Well, the weather is beautiful, so
yeah, that
automatically adds to the mood. I feel great, and I'm really honored to be here and share my experience in the industry with you all. And
yeah, no, thank you so much for.
We're honored to have you here.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, and do you want to talk a little bit more about OHA and like your practice and like anything else that we didn't add onto the mix?
Sure. I mean, I'm a very young practice. I've officially been in the space for 5 years, and so. Yeah, I'm slowly growing into, I think, the practice I really want to become. At first, when you're starting out, you kind of take whatever work you can get, and as you go along, you learn so many things about your ethos and your values and what you want to bring to your clients. So yeah, I think you covered it pretty well, but I'm still learning a lot. But I'm happy to share my experience so far.
Yeah. And go ahead. Sorry, Stan.
Do you have like a specific focus on what you do as a practice, or you just take like whatever comes your way?
I just love designing buildings, right? And so I think what ends up happening is you get a call from someone about a project, whether it's a contractor, a neighbor, a friend, and you say, yeah, I can do that. And then you become the person that does that work.
Yeah.
Whether it's small home renovations or small extensions, or I like to joke about this one, carport conversions. That's like a big thing in Florida. Like, no one wants a carport anymore. But I've tried to kind of learn from that and just remind people that call me for work. My repetitive customers or referrals that like, hey, I really like doing this work, but I also just enjoy the practice itself. So if you ever have other types of work that you need help with, I'm open to, commercial spaces or new construction or whatever. So no, I don't like to focus on any one particular thing. In fact, I've done both commercial and residential projects. But we do tend to, when we're starting out, focus on like residential, for instance.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's really good, like the fact that you don't focus in one, because then you get different experiences. Maybe you learn how to apply like that knowledge from the commercial to the residential. Maybe like from there you learn like something new that you haven't learned before.
Yeah.
So I think that, and not only that, like how I had mentioned, like the mentorship and advocacy, like I think by not focusing on one thing, you might be able to give a better voice on like different perspectives or some things that you would like to teach students nowadays,
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
At the end of the day, design is problem solving, right? And I like to say we're designers first and we're architects second. If we were architects first, we would graduate from school with our license already.
Yeah.
So anything that challenges a design problem or the practice is really what I'm interested in.
Yeah, well, that's awesome.
Well, I guess then on the topic of business, in the past you've said that you're interested in like changing the approach of business when it comes to architecture. How would you organize that change? Like, what do you think needs to be changed?
Yeah, that's I think it's a really important question that we need to start asking ourselves in the industry, because I think a lot of architects, we tend to be complainers about the problems, right? It is really challenging to start and run a business and grow in this space. And so I think we all have to start thinking about how we approach clients, how we sell our values, and ultimately educate our current clients about what really goes into the practice and the work that we do. The work that we share with them is like 10% of the work that actually goes into a project. And so a lot of clients don't understand that. But I also think that we need better business acumen. That is something that we don't focus on enough in education.
Yeah.
That's something that isn't shared a lot of times in practice through the space, right? You'll have your entry-level positions, you kind of have your mid-level positions, and then you have your senior positions. And so I think that really the practice of business should be shared throughout the firm. And so our entry-level position architects or designers, junior designers, really understand how their role impacts the business.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just show up and draft. It's like, how are my hours being accounted for, and how do they affect the project? I think that's really important, kind of starting from the bottom up and really making sure that everyone understands their role and is really accountable in the space.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think it's from like an intern perspective. I've learned from both of my internships a lot of like how practice should go. And then on my current internship at ODP, it's like, even though I'm doing like more like feasibility studies and stuff like that, but it's been very interesting to understand how to sell. Because even through those graphics, they're like, most of the time I'm doing diagrams, but even through those graphics, I want to sell the idea of the project to the client. And it becomes something that maybe like if I didn't think of it or someone haven't taught me about it from the beginning, it would have been something small, but maybe that becomes something meaningful later on, right? Yeah. So I think I agree with you.
It's storytelling, right?
Yeah.
People love to have a story attached to their homes, to their projects, to their spaces. If they're not able to fully understand what that story is, then they have a hard time seeing the value in what you're proposing as an architect, as a designer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think being able to communicate is also really important in the practice as well. So yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with you. I'm also very interested in like the business of architecture, so I was super excited for today's episode.
Yeah. Listen, like I said, very early in my career, so I'm probably going to challenge a lot of what has been done in the past decades with seasoned professionals. And it may sound like oversimplifications, but I think we have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah,
That's true.
I like that you said how like architects are complainers, because I hear all the time how it's like, oh, the engineers don't understand or the owners don't understand, you know, like there's that like miscommunication between the architect and everybody else, but then they always think it's everyone else that's misunderstanding and maybe not like them not properly communicating what they want to say. So like, why do you think that is?
I think that to be a really good leader, perhaps we don't have enough good leaders in the space. I think to be a really good team leader, it takes accountability, right? And so when problems start to come up in the industry, it's not about finger pointing, right? While it might definitely be the engineer's fault, you can say, this is how we need to solve this problem, rather than focusing on who needs to take accountability for responsibility for that issue. And I think it all starts with focusing on the solution rather than focusing on where the problem came about. I think there's a time and place for everything, right? And I think after a project is done, if there's like repeat offenders with issues, you might want to sit down with them and just give them some feedback, especially if you want to continue to work with that contractor or that engineer or, you know, that sub-consultant. yeah, it's really easy to point a finger. I think it's a lot more challenging to kind of set those issues aside and look for the solutions instead.
Mm-hmm.
No. It's interesting because, like, talking about it, I was just thinking, it's funny because the most, quote unquote, basic skills are the most important ones. So communication, trust, like those things that you would use on a day-to-day relationship with your parents, with your partner, with your friend, and that reverberates into the professional field. But I think that maybe people, the ones that don't know how to practice those in your home, might not practice so well in profession and might become the problems that you're mentioning.
Yeah.
Relationship skills are so important on every level or aspect of your life. From, like you said, being at home, that's where it all starts, right?
Yeah.
Can you take accountability at home, and how do you show up in the same ways with your team at work or your team of consultants and professionals? I think it's just, we need better leaders in this space.
I think it's part of it also is just like, at the end of the day, people just don't want to be the one to like mess things up. And like, if you know that you are, you don't want to like, it's hard to admit that, you know? So like, but then that's the thing, that's like the first step of showing people that you're trustworthy, that you're a worthwhile investment. Because if you're willing to take or put your foot down and be like, yes, I messed up, here's how I'm going to fix it. Yeah. Then that just like the trust, the bond between you and the client or whoever you're working with, it becomes that much more stronger.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's the kind of values I like to bring to my clients. And that's why they continue to call me for work. It's always important to go into a project, especially with clients who don't have experience, and tell them, like, at the end of the day, we're human beings. And if you have an existing house, unless we demolish a good portion of that house prior to beginning design work, it's going to be impossible to have everything coordinated and perfect.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, even if we do get to that level, we still make mistakes. It's about how you correct those mistakes and take accountability. Yeah. And let them know that the project won't suffer at your hands. That's what builds the trust.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think we need better leaders. And I think that leadership, like you said, it does start at home. So maybe that's a little bit more complicated and nuanced.
True.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like just speaking with friends about like how each one of us view communication, just all those like little skills, right? Everyone views it so differently.
Yeah. And
that's why I think it arises so many different problems. Because there's also another factor, especially in South Florida, culture is another one. Mm-hmm. Everyone has different cultures. The way that me, as a Brazilian person coming from Brazil, I view trust and communication most likely is different than you, most likely is different than you, and maybe therefore creates different problems.
Yeah, really? Definitely. Yeah. We are in a melting pot in South Florida.
Yeah, no, that's so true.
And we have to learn how to work with each other and not take things so personally.
Yeah.
And understanding that you have a different upbringing than what I have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so you're going to bring a different perspective to the table and different baggage, perhaps. We all have baggage, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, I think on one hand, it's building appropriate boundaries. On another hand, it's taking leadership and holding yourself accountable and knowing that I'm a human being and I make mistakes. I am not a mistake.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a good mantra. Yeah. That's a good mantra. Yeah. It's really good. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really.
So I guess to move forward a little bit, how do you think architects are able to like more properly voice the actual like services that they provide to like their clients? Because I feel like it's another thing that I keep hearing on like today, like people are trying to like circumvent the architect. Or, you know, like try to just get around that completely or remove from the equation as of like, you know, oh, we don't need the architect, we can do it ourselves. And so how do you think architects can properly show that, yes, you do need them?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I think this kind of, it's a good follow-up question from what we were just discussing and building trust from the very beginning with a client. And I think that starts with asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
Showing up with genuine curiosity to your very first interactions with clients and letting them know that you really care about understanding what their needs are rather than selling your values first, right? And so it's kind of like dating, right? you don't just show up to your first meeting and then sign a contract.
Yeah.
You show up to your first meeting, you learn about them, you come to the next meeting and you say, okay, based on everything that I've learned about you, this is really what I think is going to be important for you in this project. And so what a lot of people don't understand in the practice of architecture as an outsider, as a lay person, is that there are so many different levels of service, right? And so if they don't understand that and you're not able to educate them about that, they're going to compare you to the guy or gal down the street who's going to charge a fraction of what you're charging, right? And you might be offering 10 times more than what they offer. They may not offer design. They may just offer drafting, and you have to give them a floor plan, which is nuts. I would never trust my clients to drop a floor plan. But they are not offering the same level of service you are. And all the client sees is a dollar sign. And so I've taken a new approach, which is demonstrating that there are levels of service and giving them a sense of agency and choice and how they want to move forward with me. And so kind of like a car wash menu, you roll up to the car wash. Sometimes you might just be like, I need a very basic clean. My car's not very dirty. $10 in and out. But other times I might be like, I haven't cleaned my car for a really long time, and the $70 car wash is totally worth it now. My tires need to shine, and it's going to last a lot longer. And so I do the same thing in the practice. I demonstrate that there are, tiered services, and the more you spend, the more you get. And it might not be appropriate for every client. They might say, you know what, actually, I don't need all that. I'm gonna get your lowest tier of service. But for me, it has to be a price that I'm still willing to do the work at, right? Because I love design.
Of course.
I love design. I don't want to just show up and do a permit set for someone. But everyone has a price to do something.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I do have clients that just want a permit set. And I'm willing to do that because it's at a fee that I feel comfortable with just doing those services. If you don't give them those choices, they're going to just shop around. They want to feel like they have a choice. So first it starts with understanding, then it moves into kind of educating them.
It sounds like it's a lot of like the exchange of like, I'm giving you my values, give me your values, and let's see what on the table, what am I going to take away maybe from my values that I think that I'm comfortable with, that I can still work, but what are you willing to take away? It's like that 50-50, like not I'm being hurt, but you're gaining more, it got to be a really good two-way road relationship.
Yeah, you have to be careful about how you propose it, right? You don't want them to feel like it's too much of a negotiation because then it becomes work for them. You want them to feel like this is everything she offered and I have a choice. And by the way, she's flexible, so perhaps I can customize these things. And never propose something that you're not willing to do at a fee you're not willing to do it at. And so you've already come to the table with your values. So, it can be a negotiation, but you don't want it to feel that way for them. You don't want them to feel like it's too much work going into it.
It seems.
The tricky thing is like everyone wants to get the most bang for their buck.
Right.
Like it's like is the surface that's being provided worth the amount that I'm putting into it? Because the second that they feel like it's not worth it, they're out. It's like you said, they'll just go find someone else to do it for them. Exactly. Even if the end product might not be that good in their eyes,
it's just a dollar sign.
Exactly. It's what I paid for, and I'm happy with it. I didn't spend as much. It's not as good, but I got what I envisioned in my head, and that's a tricky thing, because it's like relation between two people is one thing, but then the relation between yourself and someone's pocket is a completely different one. And you have to be able to manage those two carefully. Otherwise, you're going to end up like either having people just not seeing you as worth it, or people not even walking into the door in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I couldn't agree more with that. And
Yes.
and at the same time, you're able to really educate them about what an architect is capable of bringing to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Because they may not know that you can provide hyper realistic renders.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
they may not realize that you're more than just a drafts person, and you have to show them that through your proposals and through your early meetings.
True.
The person down the street is not going to provide renders, and if they are, they're going to be quick screenshots off SketchUp. You know, it's very different.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because even as like an intern, I'm still learning what we offer. So it's like, it feels like I'm kind of like playing like both roles of like being the, like, quote unquote, the client, like be educated what we do.
Yeah.
But also providing the service, right? So it's like, it's interesting.
And it really starts from that, right? Is making sure that your staff understands what is in the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we responsible for as a team? Because every contract from project to project is going to be different. And so how many hours are allocated to this one task? Am I making this project profitable as a team member for that one task?
Yeah.
Or am I spending way too much time on this?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's really important to kind of bring business into the conversation early on at all levels.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what it is, a business. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
yes, you enjoy making buildings, you enjoy having a professional kind of relationship, but, you know, you're trying to you're trying to put food in the pantry, you know?
Yeah, for everyone.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone involved.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think that's the part that some people miss, the fact that we have to go home and still do groceries and, you know,
Yeah.
still be healthy, you know.
Yeah. And you don't want your staff to be overworked,
Yep.
underpaid, and exhausted. We all have lives. And so it's not just about running the business and writing or signing a check. It's also about how you impact everyone's livelihoods.
Mm-hmm.
So that comes with the business.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then, so going back a little bit on like, you mentioned before that we can't change our clients' taste. So like how you were saying, like the car wash mentality, like it's customizable, but we can change how they perceive our services. And you already talked a little bit more about like this customization, right? But like, what would you say that was that like that key, that turn for you? That you're like, wait, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Oh, negotiation, right? I rather should make the client feel more like a customization. What would you say that was that turn for you?
Okay, so I'm not sure I fully understand where the question is going, but I can tell you this. Clients, especially in residential, right? There are a lot of memories attached and preconceived notions of what a home is.
Yeah.
And it's different for everyone, right? And it's especially different for architects because we're exposed to so much more. But we can try to influence them as much as possible when it comes to design and aesthetics, right?
Yeah.
There's, in my opinion, a huge difference. An aesthetic is really just an outcome for design and problem solving. But at the end of the day, we're problem solvers. And a lot of clients don't know that. They think that if there is a problem on a project, they need to solve it and bring a solution to you. And so I think if you can't be influential in their taste and their aesthetics, whatever it is, you can bring your problem solving skills as an architect to other aspects of the project. And so that is another way to show what your value is.
Okay. That's what you're saying.
As a service, right? A lot of clients don't know how to space plan. People are presented with problems all the time. And some of them, to be honest with you, are not easily solvable.
Yeah.
But it's to come up with the best solution that everyone's going to be comfortable with.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to do that really well as an architect and a business owner. And a lot of clients end up walking away from the project thinking, oh my gosh, I felt really guided through this whole process.
Yep.
Whereas I went into this thinking that I had to be the thought leader.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. You know, you did answer my question. It was more so like understanding, like, how did you gain like the experience to make it customized? What you were saying maybe is like maybe guiding your customer, your client, right? Through like understanding the difference between aesthetics and like how can you be an influencer, right? Because if you think about it, we're all influencers. We're influencers in school on like maybe teaching the younger class on how to go through that project. You're an influencer in the profession to us, to explain to us, hey, whenever you get to like this point on your career, maybe that's how you should handle. Yeah. And you're an influencer to your clients. So it's like, it's very interesting. I really like that analogy.
Yeah.
I think it's also a little bit of like clarity, like people like to have clarity, you know, on stuff like this. So like if there's a problem, you know, and they might come to you with like the potential solution, but you think it might be solved a better way or a different way. And, you know, in their eyes, it's not as simple as like, oh, I'll just go solve the problem and then you'll be happy with it. You know, it's like they want to be in a way a part of the process of solving the problem so they can like find a way to rationalize that in their head. Like, oh, this is what's actually going on. Yeah. This is how we actually solve the problem, you know? And then it's hard because like as the client, unless they themselves are an architect, they won't be able to fully understand what's going on. Yeah. But then at that point, if they're the architect, or if they are an architect, they're just going to build a house themselves. So it's like a weird middle ground where you have to find like you explain just enough where they're able to gain understanding of the problem and the solution, but not too much where they're just lost.
Correct. Yeah. And you're going to find sometimes that when you're working with clients, they just want to have ownership over every decision throughout the process. They know exactly what they want and they don't care about your solutions, even if they are better. Even if you've presented every pro and con of what they'd like to achieve. They want to feel like they designed their own home.
Exactly.
And that's a real accomplishment for them. Yeah. So you're not going to change everyone's mind. You're not going to be able to influence them in certain ways. But if you're able even to just solve a problem in your business on that project, you might find a way to make your process more efficient. You might find a way to, you know, even just learn how to talk to clients. I think as long as you can take something away from every project and sell your value to yourself, I think that's really fruitful.
No, and you kind of touched onto my next question, which is what are some common misconceptions that clients have about architect? And then a follow-up question would be, how does reframing the process help the client understand better the value?
Yeah. So I think we did discuss that a little bit, but I think the biggest misconception, especially in residential architecture, with clients who have never worked with an architect before, is they think that we are just draftspeople. That they need to come to the table with the plans and we're going to just make it permit ready. And so, it all goes back to those early conversations and understanding what their needs are. Understanding really what they think their own role is in the process. I've had clients who say, you know, in another life I was an architect, and so I really just want to take the leadership over the design on this one. And I say, you know what? All right, let's do that then. I'll find a way to make my process in this project a lot easier. And so, I think the biggest misconception in the industry is just, you know, really what an architect does. In general. They think we're hunched over a drafting table using lead and ink on Mylar and, you know, they wonder why our fees are so expensive, and it's because, you know, time is more and more elusive, and building departments are requiring a lot more and more and more. And so it all goes back to problem solving, right? And we can't always take what the clients give us. and turn it into something buildable, because sometimes it's just not buildable. And then you have to be able to really explain to them why this doesn't work, and why, as a licensed professional, you're not willing to do it certain ways. Standing your ground is also really important, and then they start to gain a little bit more respect for you. I think that answered the question a little bit, right? And then
It did.
you had a follow-up question to that.
Yeah, it was like, how does reframing the process help the client understand better the value of the architect?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the early conversations and what shows up in a proposal, and what kind of presentations you give them, right? They need to understand what the design process looks like, right? Because we don't jump right into construction documents right off the bat.
Yeah.
We slowly start to layer in details and annotations and dimensions and all the information that the builder needs to know to build. But prior to that, there is a process. There are meetings. You will get a ton of feedback from them, and there will be revisions throughout the design process. And that takes time.
Yeah.
Clients don't understand that time is associated with a dollar value, and every single hour has to be accounted for.
Yeah. And like, just circling back a little bit on the misconception, and I think another thing, like looking at the student perspective, and at least from my experience, when I first started architecture school, right, I don't think no one, even in like the beginning of the school, no one really explains truly the role of an architect, because not everyone wants to follow down the path of practice, right? But even as a professor, it's not just simply, we're going to teach you materials and methods, means of construction. It's way deeper than that. And to me, like when I started architecture school, I just felt like, okay, I'm going to draft and yay, close out the project. But like, I learned a lot more that I'm not just simply a drafters person. I'm a photographer. I am a designer, a graphic person, and multiple and other things. That's just like the software skills. And then comes like the people relation skills. Like there's so much more. And earlier in the conversation that we had before recording, you're saying something that is very meaningful, that when we bring it to a practice is actually the relationship, like people relation, like skills, right? Like communication, leadership. And I think that I wish that was more clear, because I feel like so many students miss that mark, right? And they are not practicing that skill. Because in the end of the day, it's not just simply you're going to use it in practice, but if you want to be a professor, you're going to use that too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one of those skills that, I mean, you could attempt to teach it in a classroom, but it's really just something that you have to learn on your own. You know, it's just a life skill that you use on a day-to-day basis. And like, there's no real way to like instill that in someone besides just, all right, you see that crowd of people, go talk to them.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the assignment, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's no real like set course.
That's true.
I also think that, and perhaps it's okay for things to be this way, because not everyone's meant to be leaders.
Yeah.
We can only have so many leaders in the room and cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But I do think leadership is a skill that should exist at every level, whether or not you want to be a project manager or run your own company. It goes back to the accountability, right? You need to take accountability at any level, under leadership, as leadership, because that's what allows the machine to run well and efficiently.
Yeah.
Yeah, to keep rolling.
It's important to know when to lead and when to be led.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I agree. And even when you have clients, the clients want to be the leader sometimes, and you have to kind of just take their lead if that's something that you're willing to do.
Yeah.
So I guess then what's like your specific process and gaining like the trust of a client? Because I know we've gone like in circles all day talking about like trust and like client relationships, but like what's
kind of the theme?
Yeah. but like what's your specific process in doing that?
So I think that people react really well to imagery, right? And so I think I mentioned the first step is just getting to know the client. People want to feel understood.
Yeah.
They want to feel like they're going to have a sense of agency in the decision making. I think going back to misconceptions, right? Another big misconception is people, the client's just going to give the architect a list of all the spaces that they want, and then the architect is just going to show up with something random, and then that's it.
Yeah.
End of story. What if I don't like it? I just wasted my time and money on you as an architect.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that sitting them down and building a rapport and showing them what the process looks like, and making sure that they understand that the first step in the process is not like the means to an end, right? This is an ongoing conversation. This is a long-term relationship. One of my clients said, I want you from house closing to housewarming. I want you there every step of the way, right? And it's because I built that trust with him. And I had a lot of, this will go against a lot of architects' values, but I had a lot of conversations with him early on, and I gave him the time that he felt like he needed to fully understand what I'm bringing to the table. And so we built trust through those early conversations, and me fully understanding what his intent was for the project and for the property. So sharing presentations of what each step looks like is also really important, and how details evolve as you move through the design process and what the deliverables look like, right? And so he sees something tangible that he's paying for. Or she, right? Not all my clients are he, but I'm thinking about the one in particular that I've been working with recently.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think that, especially for, I mean, in our case, right, like the architects, students, architects, we're very graphic people, like image people.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the best way that we know how to communicate sometimes. Even if you can't put the words out, you're like, okay, maybe we're going to do a collage, or I'm going to do a render, I'm going to do a diagram. And then sometimes I think that maybe that's the easier way to communicate with people that don't understand us. Because I might say A, but I might say the letter A in a different way that they're going to say. And that's where it starts the whole miscommunication. Because you said it in a different way and I didn't understand. But when you have like something physical, like what you're saying, like a graphic to give it to them, I think it becomes more like an interpretation battle. And you get to be like, well, my interpretation is A because X, Y, and Z. And what is your take on it? And maybe you're like, well, their take is like good, or like that's what they're looking for. And you're like, oh no, I totally agree with you.
And sometimes you get a reaction from them. It's all about getting reactions.
Yeah.
Right? You might put a piece of material in front of them and they may react really well, or they may not like it at all. And it's, you learn not to take things personally. And just learn from their feedback. Okay, what do you not like about this? Even before they hire you as an architect, have them share some images with you. Like, what are you thinking for the space? If you want to try to influence their taste, you might say, okay, I see you really like this style. What do you think about this image? Get their reaction. And ultimately, if you feel as an architect like it's not going to be a good fit, the values aren't aligned in any sense, in any form, you can always walk away.
That's true.
It's true. I feel like a lot of people don't realize that. They're not like beholden to the project. You can just walk out.
You can say, listen, I really respect you, and I think this is an exciting opportunity, but I just don't think this is a good fit.
I like that you mentioned a while back on like your approach was like a little different from like how other architects normally go about like their relationship with their clients. Like you like have like in-depth conversations with them. Is there like a way for architects to like break away from like the set examples of like how they should go with those like client relationships, or do you think like it's better just to stick with like the standard that's already been set?
I think this is maybe one of the issues in our industry, right? Like there's no one set structure or process to approaching client acquisition or even running your business. There's no one set design process. Some people, format the process in sort of one phase, one sort of linear, seamless phase from start to finish, and they present a schedule to the client, and then that's it. And so it's really challenging to say that there is one formula that is the best formula, because a lot of architects do really well in the practice doing it their way. And while I might not agree with it and I don't think it works for me, I think ultimately as an industry, we just need to do better with the things that we've been talking about, which is communicating that there is a difference between providing permit-only services and providing turnkey kind of full scope design services, whether that's going through the 5 phases of design with them and putting on the VR headset and developing the model in so much detail that they have no doubt in their mind that this is what they want to build. Every process looks different, but being able to educate our clients in that our time is valuable and that we will go the extra mile for you so that you can feel confident and happy with the work. But there is a cost associated with that. And so I go back to prior to signing that contract, I might be giving away too much of my time early on to tire kickers, people who are not taking me that seriously, and it doesn't convert to any work. And other architects might have boundaries where they say, we will give you a 1-hour consultation for free. Anything beyond that is either billable or, a set rate for every day that we spend together meeting or being on site.
Yeah.
And so I think that is where we differ, and things might even evolve for me as I become busier. I might say in the past that worked really well when I was young in my career, but now I have to set limitations on how I spend my time.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately, we just all need to do better at educating clients that there is a difference between what I offer and what they offer down the street.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because it got to be fruitful both ways, right? It can't just be one way, because you want your client to have a great result where they're happy and they're going to recommend your work, but you also want to be proud about it and be part in that project, participate in your portfolio too, and be the next level of what you're building. And like a little following up onto the next question, this conversation overall has been very insightful, a lot of new knowledge, especially for us as students. And I think that it would be really cool if you could share with us what has been one of the biggest lessons you've learned by running your own practice.
Yeah. So
that you wish that you would tell yourself as a student, keep an eye out.
I think as a student, I thought that I was going to be this heroic architect who goes out into the industry and saves architecture and the building industry one project at a time. Yeah. And that I'm going to be so influential with every client that they're going to totally see things differently. Yeah. But that's not true. I've also learned that in the beginning, it's really difficult to walk away from work because there's this fear of not being able to stay afloat. But that once you start to take on projects that you don't really want, they continue to flow. And then you become known as the tenant improvement girl or the carport conversion girl. And the neighbor down the street said, oh, this architect helped me with this project and I want to do this, my neighbor wants to do the same. And so if that's truly not what you want your focus to be, you have to learn to say, I can't do this work.
Yeah.
Or you put a price tag on it for what you're willing to do that work for.
Yeah.
And it might look outrageous to that client, but some clients are going to bite and you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest lesson recently has been to sort of focus on and manifest the work that you want to bring into your space. And that when you start to rethink about the business of architecture, it actually opens up so many more opportunities that you might not have had before. because you're freeing up your time. You're charging rates that you should be charging for the work. Clients are starting to understand your value, and you're showing to them that if your schedule is not overloaded, you're able to provide better services to them.
I agree. And like from those like big lessons that you've learned, or even the smaller lessons, what systems or habits have helped you sustain your own practice?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's just doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's building trust and holding yourself accountable. You might promise that work is going to be delivered by a certain deadline, but if you communicate and you say, look, X, Y, and Z happened, I'm going to be a week behind, but it's going to get done, and you give them enough notice.
Yeah.
Even if you made that mistake, they're still going to trust you.
Yeah.
And learning to be trustworthy with clients yields more work. And referrals are what have sustained my practice. I have never gone out and marketed my work to anyone. I think I paid for ads one time, and it actually did convert to one project, but 95% of my work has been word of mouth. And so that's really what sustains my practice, is just the trust that I've built.
Yeah, and I think that like the referral, like word of mouth rather than ad, is more powerful, because then you know someone like as a client, right? I would prefer to be like, hey Stanley, do you have this really good, like, I don't know, restaurant that you would go to? They want to take an outsider, right? And he tells you, oh, I like this place. You can ask them, why do you like this place? What are they offer that the other place that I went doesn't? What would you say that it was their best part of the project? Would you say, well, and then you really know the person is good. You know, that they're trustworthy, because especially when you ask someone that you trust, it feels like you already know the experience that you're going to get, and most likely that's positive, rather than through a cold ad, and then you're questioning yourself, like, should I really go? What if I go to this restaurant and the service is bad and the food comes cold and it's taking too long? And then what most of the time happens, that you just go to the restaurant you always go because that's what you trust.
Yeah, that's a really great analogy. I think especially in architecture, it's a big investment.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time and it's a lot of money, and people want to know that they can trust the person that they're writing checks out to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's,
I think a lot of people don't like fully understand how strong like word of mouth is. Because like it's different when you see it on like a billboard, you know. It's like, it's just there. You see a bunch of ads every day going down the highway, like it's, oh, just another ad. But when it's someone face to face to you, be like, oh, I talked to this person, she's a really good architect, you know, she helped me with my house, or she helped me with my business. Then there's like, okay, you know, there's a connection between the person who told you. So now you're already instilling a bit of trust in the architect from the lens of someone else. And then now they will then, you know, come in with a little bit more, and then that's like the relationship already started without the architect and the client ever even meeting.
Yeah.
You know, because there's already the human aspect to it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like the way that I always think of this, it's gonna be funny. As a girl, I don't want to go to a hairdresser that I don't know. I'm very particular about my hair, and if I'm gonna pay because I have a lot of hair, it's gonna be a big dollar check, you know, like, because I have a lot of hair, then the outcome better be good. So I'm not gonna go to a hairdresser that I saw down the street or this and that. I'm gonna go to a hairdresser that I've done or that my friend did that I love the result, because I don't want to get out of the chair looking like I don't like it, because that's the worst thing ever.
You don't pay for your haircut twice.
Exactly, you don't. So it's the same way. Like, you don't want to pay for an architect and you get home and it's like a constant reminder, like, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. So it's like, I think that referral is like the best way that you can go with.
That's why guys don't cheat on their barbers.
Yeah, consistency is key.
Exactly.
It is.
But I guess on more on the topic of business, you know, the whole theme of this episode. But how would you say students and like young architects should go about like learning more about business? You know, because you come out of school and it's just design, but you don't really get the business aspect unless you go out looking for it.
Yeah. I think just kind of sticking your nose out and saying, I want to be copied on emails. I don't need to say anything. I just want to understand what's happening behind the curtains. I like to attend meetings. I don't need to put my camera on. I don't need to provide input, but I'd like to take notes and really hear it from the client's mouth about where issues are arising, or hear it from the consultant's mouth where are their issues directly. And so there is no loss of translation. And even if I don't fully understand anything that's happening in the meeting, I think that there's a ton of value to being exposed to really important conversations early on in your career. I think that can advance you so much quicker than being promoted, right? Because then you're able to contribute to more advanced conversations as an entry-level position than you would have been if you kind of just sat at your desk and waited while everyone else was attending those meetings without you, right? And so I think you just have to ask for more, but you have to be careful, right? Because some business owners will take advantage of that and they will put more on your plate.
Yeah.
And we all have lives at the end of the day. And I think work-life balance is really important.
Yeah.
When it comes to showing up to work as the best version of yourself, right? They say that, you know, your relationships with others start at home, but I also think that you have to learn how to take care of yourself first before you can perform well at work. You want to show up to work every day with a clear mind. And feeling like you don't resent your position as an architect or as a designer.
It's the whole plane situation. You put the mask on your first, then you put it on.
Exactly. You could help someone.
You can't.
Yeah. And so knowing how to speak up for yourself, knowing where the boundaries are and how to push them, with understanding what's happening in the project, even if you don't need to know that information. And a lot of project managers will say you don't need to be there. You don't need to know that information. Asking to see what the contract looks like. I want to understand what my role is in this project and how I can be responsible for my tasks in a timely way, in a profitable way. I'd like to be able to add to the conversation about where there are efficiencies that I think can be improved.
I mean, this question is a little similar, but like, how would you tell someone who's like an intern or someone like on the lower rungs of the ladder in a firm, like the best way for them to express their values in that firm?
And I think that goes back to some of our first conversations is you don't go to architecture school and come out as an architect. You come out as a designer, and designers are problem solvers. They're not artists. They're not there for aesthetics. They're there to be thought leaders and learn how to, not to be talking in circles here, but problem solvers, right? If you can't solve a problem early on, even if it's in such a schematic part of the process, what values do you have? You might be really good at drafting, but then you become known as a drafting person. And you become known as a graphics girl. And so you have to be careful where what kind of skills you show up with. And you might have a multitude of skills, right? But I think the biggest value coming out of architecture school really is communication skills, thought leadership, problem solving. That's what we're learning. And of course, it helps if your portfolio is nice and you can render and you know how to put together a nice drawing. Those are all skills that are, of course, important as a designer and as an architect.
So I guess it's just how you present yourself in a way.
I mean, how do you show your value? I think, like I said, it's like sticking your neck out.
Yeah.
And saying, you know, I think this is where we can improve either in a process or can we try this in the design? And of course, you have to be careful not to go behind your team's back and start to do things with your time. But show up in meetings and contribute to the conversation. Ask questions, right? I think most firms are not going to expect you to show up to a project fresh out of school and have all the answers to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So asking questions shows that you're curious and you want to grow and learn more.
Yeah. One thing that I always tell myself, because sometimes I feel like, especially as an intern, being the smallest fish in a tank, right? I always think, is this question like dumb? And then I'm like, I always put this in my mind. The no, I already have. Or like the answer of like being, oh, maybe that was like an easy question, or we already said that. I already know that a person can say that. But I don't know what the unknown could be so great. They could give me such a great feedback, or they can share with me such great knowledge, or they can provide me such great opportunity. So maybe taking that risk on being like, like no, or like that question we already answered. I prefer taking that risk than no,
Yeah. Sorry, this may have been brought up already, but I might have missed it. And then you just proceed with asking the question. It shows that, you're a human being and you might get sidetracked with certain things or misunderstand what's being discussed at times, but that you really are persistent on trying to understand the project and what's happening. And so not being afraid to make a mistake or ask a question that's already been asked.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. All right. So thank you so much for joining us. And I guess the last question, just to wrap it up, would be, if there's one mindset shift architects need to make about their business, what would it be from your perspective?
A mindset shift. Yeah, I think it's just moving away from architecture as an art form.
Yeah.
And more of a business.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think that while business sounds really boring to a lot of architects and mundane, I think there's still a lot of ways that we can be thought leaders in our industry and use design as a business problem solving tool.
Yeah.
Right? I love designing my business. I love designing the process. I love putting together materials and finding ways to be more efficient in my workflow. And I love, finding new ways to approach clients and speak to them early on in the process. And so I think if we can learn how to be better business leaders, I think that we can just really elevate the industry as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Even in general, as an employee, if you think about it, we're always doing business. You're selling to the company, why are you good to do the job? And the company is selling to you, why are they great for you to work there? For everything. So I think, thank you so much for your advice. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for coming.
If you have any socials you would like to share, or anything that you'd like to share with everyone, for them to maybe follow you on LinkedIn, or...
I just reactivated my LinkedIn after a really long time because I couldn't log in. And I eventually gave up after I think 2022 or 2021. I don't know. But yeah, if you want to find me on LinkedIn, I'm fresh and active on that platform again. I'm not big on social media. I think I could do better with that. But stay tuned.
All right. And thank you so much, Heather, once again.
Thank you all.
No, it was awesome. I think that the business of architecture should be more out there. And I think that this is a great platform for us to share that. So thank you for your advice.
Of course.
And everyone, please follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram. We're mainly in all of the podcast platforms. We're still almost there, Nate?
Awesome.
Almost there. So check our Spotify, and thank you so much.
Yes. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.